Now make a statement in my capacity as a representative of the Russian Federation. We are grateful to the Special Representative David Sher for the information he provided about the situation in South Sudan and the peace process in that African country. We also note the role played by the Blue Helmets during this pivotal time in the history of South Sudan. We would like to also point out progress in the implementation by the parties to the conflict to South Sudan of the revitalized peace agreement signed on the 12th of September 2018. What's important here to note here is that they show their readiness to dialogue and that they want to overcome their differences by finding compromise solutions. In this regard, it's important to overstate the importance of what took place in Juba with the mediation of IGAD and Khartoum, namely the three-day talks between President Salva Kiir and the former First Vice President Riek Machar. And we are convinced that this meeting will give a new impetus to the South Sudanese reconciliation process. The decision made by the South Sudanese parties to extend the pre-transition period to the 12th of November was a difficult one, but it was a justified one. And we sincerely hope the participants of the revitalized agreement will undertake additional efforts in order to abide by this timeline and form the transitional government of national unity. As regards the non-signatories, we call upon them to accede and join in the process of state building as quickly as possible. We think it's important to make sure that the regional actors' approach to South Sudanese settlement retain their unity. We welcome the efforts made by IGAD and Khartoum, who are closely accompanying the peace process in South Sudan. And this shows yet once again that the principle African solutions to African problems is being practically implemented. Furthermore, there's still potential remaining for effective interaction between the UN, Security Council, and regional organizations. And we think that this can only help the national reconciliation process. We also note that the bodies and mechanisms provided for in the renewed agreement have begun working, and we're happy to see that the level of armed violence gone down, as well as the number of human rights abuses in the country. An increasing number of refugees and IDPs are going back to their permanent homes. And we link this to the implementation of mutual confidence measures and contacts on the ground between the opposing parties. We share what the Secretary General says in the recent report when he says that he is concerned by the diverting of the peacekeepers onto the protection of civilian sites. We think that as we move forward in the political settlement process, it will be possible to ensure the South Sudanese who want to return home that they will have the needed safety and security, and also that the social contract will be restored. We think that only fully comprehensive implementation by the parties of the commitments they undertook, and that's the only thing that can help increase trust and avoid the mistakes of the past. And we're convinced that progress in South Sudanese settlement was helped not by greater sanctions pressure on the country or by the arms embargo. The most important element there was a contribution brought in by regional mediators. And more than that, at a certain stage, the embargo made it more difficult to implement regional security initiatives, the initiatives which were there in support of the settlement process. And we expect that in the near future, the South Sudanese will agree on the whole range of issues, which will furnish grounds for the review of the sanctions regime in order to adapt it to the realities on the ground. I now resume my function as President of the Council